Welcome back to America's Hope. We're doing a very special program tonight. We're focusing on October 7th to remind people of what took place October 7th, 2023, along the kibbutzim and the city of Sderot in Israel. Certainly it was a day of terror, and 1,200 people were killed during that time. And the world has moved on. And now two playwrights and their journalists put together a verbatim play that's very immersive, that describes the events of October 7th. True stories, actualities from the people who lived through perhaps the worst day of their lives. And out of that came hope and resilience and the fight that Israel's still involved in to bring the hostages home and to end the reign of Hamas. So joining me now are two actors who appear in the production, and it's very moving. We have Rebecca Lynn Goldfarb and Jenny Ann Hochberg. Rebecca and Jenny, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
I'm so glad that you could join us. We were just talking to Ann and Phelim about the production itself and how you can't help but be moved by the verbatim, what people have said during the Nova Fest and the other places that had been attacked on that day. You play two of the young people who were there at the Nova Fest. Tell me who you play and how you got prepared for this kind of historical role.
Yeah, so the main character I portray is named Mika.
I was telling myself, cover your ears so you don't hear your family get shot. And I was going to wait for them to leave, and then Golly and I would try and look after them. I have done first aid.
And she ends up hiding during the day in a safe room with her family. And I have a very close family friend who serves in the IDF, and so I remember for research asking her a whole bunch of questions about things that I knew my character was describing, but I myself have never experienced, like what are the safe rooms like? We talk about what a code red is, and she sent me a link to the sound, and it was a lot of work to really process each of these very specific things that, you know, I myself haven't had to witness, but this very real person that I'm portraying has.
Yeah, and Jenny, for you, the role that you played, very significant as well.
Yeah. I play Shani Arditi. She was a Nova Festival survivor.
This guy, Leon Brigadera, did this for 2 days, looking to rescue people. On October 8th, his son was with him. They saw a damaged police car. They wanted to see if there was a body or someone to rescue, and I started to keep Shabbat. Began to believe. I'm not religious. I'm not there yet, but I found faith. My faith.
She was also, and she went back into the IDF after October 7th. She's a combat medic, and I become very good friends with her. She actually came opening night to surprise me, and I did not know. I knew her picture from doing all the research about her, but I didn't know her as close as I do now, and I know her mom and her boyfriend very well, who I also speak about in the show. And what she went through, I know exactly everything from the way she takes selfies to the way she dances to where she was every step of the way mentally, and what moment really hit her that this is real and that this is happening. And essentially what she does after surviving all the bullets and running past terrorists, and there's some things that she shared that aren't even in the play of how like a terrorist held a gun at her and it jammed, and that's the only reason that she lived, was because the terrorist decided to move on. But playing her, and she also hid in a thorn bush for about 5 to 6 hours. She still has scars from the thorns, and she still feels a lot of survivor's guilt that she couldn't save as many people as she could, because she did hear rape and she did hear the killings from that day when she was hiding. And so that's why she went back, because she wants to do everything she can to take care of people. And for me, I've been actively going to protests and going to rallies to support the hostages and get them home. I'm putting up stickers, I've been signing petitions, doing everything I can. And so when I saw that this was casting, I immediately had to do it. And so when I was given the opportunity to play this part, it was a very easy thing to connect to because of how important this is for me. And also a very small piece of information is Noah Argamani, who is one of the hostages still. Yeah. There's a new voice recording that just came out of her recently. And she's also friends with Shani, and I didn't know that. And Noah is a very big reason why I'm so active for the hostages. And doing research to play Shani was finding what she looked like. That was a big part of it. But also trying to really live through her experiences and find the differences between us, because this is a very, as she knows, traumatic show to live through every night. But to try and separate myself from her and just be a voice for her is what matters, and just try to put myself in her position every day where she was at that time.
You know, both of you play these roles in a powerful way. It's riveting. I was there the night that you met Shani, and I remember how emotional that moment was, because it was, I don't think anyone in the audience knew except for the producers. And I want to really go through all of this, because you both play two different characters, yet there's so much commonplace about what everyone went through. For example, you talked about being locked away in a safe room. And the difficulty in that safe room is that you had to hold the door to keep the terrorists from opening the door and coming in, or even throwing in a grenade. And to my surprise, when I walked through some of the kibbutzim, for example, I was at kibbutzim Be'eri, and as we walked through, I was shown quite a few of the safe rooms, and you would expect that they could lock from within, but they weren't for, they were for bomb shelters. They weren't for breaking and entering. And so the reason why I want to bring that up again is that many Americans, or many people living in the Western world or other places, they don't understand that just about every place in Israel has a bomb shelter or a safe room. Why?
It's there are no words, right? That's the reality of what they live. And I mean, there's just so much bravery in these people from what they had to endure. And I remember the first time I read the script and really processed that that's my character's story, that they were there for 35 hours, no food, no water, knowing that if they made too much sound, someone was going to come for them. Like, I couldn't help but think of Anne Frank and the reality that in 2023, the same thing happened that did in World War II, where these people are hiding because of who they are. It's heartbreaking to me, really.
It is heartbreaking. Why have we lived to see this day come forward where Jews are sought after to be annihilated?
Right.
That's the question that this raises. And both of you are young. What is happening to young people to go out and protest against Israel in defending itself, which it has every right to do?
I personally think I've had certain protesters attack my mom and I when we've been trying to put up things for the hostages. And I personally believe, as I'm sure she does too, that everyone has the right to exist safely where they live. But I think it's that people feel that they need a purpose and need a connection. And because people want to stand up for human rights so badly, they just don't realize maybe which side or what misinformation is out there. And I think they think that they're doing the right thing, but they don't see the whole picture.
So you were attacked, you and your mom.
Yes.
What happened?
It's a complicated story, but it was right after there was a big rally at the UN for the hostages, and it was very powerful. And some of the hostages that were released spoke, and it was very powerful, and it was a really heavy day. And I had put up some hostage stickers and connecting with other people around my area who also had attended, and we were exchanging stickers and we were speaking and about how we can even do more than we are as advocates for the hostages. And this person came along and started tearing down our stickers, and then started physically attacked my mom and actually started following us until the police got involved. Wow. And I've been attacked other times too for speaking up for the hostages, or even just being there when they tore down a poster at the wrong time. and not trying to get into a fight, but people just have a lot of anger, and I don't think they understand anything really that's happening when they're that angry.
Yeah.
So when you hear stories like that, and it's happening in your reality, and then you go in and play the role of someone who lived through this,
Yep.
lived through the worst attack on Israel since the Holocaust. When you're playing Shani's role and you realize what she had to go through, and like both of you attested to, the survivor's guilt. Why did I survive? Could I have done more to help others? Did both of you get that from your characters that you spoke to?
From speaking to her, yes, but I also now that I know her more, there's a part at the end where I talk about how lucky I am to be alive. There's also a wall in the back of our theater, and I'm sure you saw with all the hostages. And so looking at that, I often think of Noah Argamani or those that are still being held there, and I can feel it myself, even though I wasn't at the Nova Festival. But just speaking to Shani herself, she wishes that she could have done more. She tried. I mean, there's so many parts where she talks about wanting to go back and save people, but a medic stops her. She turns around to run and literally save more people, but it's either you save yourself or you die and you save them.
Yeah. It's a tough place to be in. And Rebecca, in that safe room, you're going through 35 hours of not only trying to protect each other, but you're hearing the attacks against your neighbors.
Yeah, and my uncle's out there, and we don't know what has happened to him until, October 8th, maybe 9th. So, I mean, there's so much fear, and there's also the world we live in now of, 2023, 2024, of cell phones and trying to figure out what is going on because nobody expected this to happen. And eventually, 35 hours, our phones are giving out. And just, hoping that all our loved ones are safe. And it's crazy. I unfortunately didn't get to speak with the girl I portray, but I also respect that because, people grieve in so many different ways. And, speaking with Shani, I know that our play was really comforting for her to see her story that way, but not everyone processes that way, and that's okay too.
I'm talking to Rebecca Lynn and Jenny, two actors who appear in this play. When we come back, we'll talk more about how they view this as the wonderful people they are. That's next on America's Hope. Welcome back. So I'm talking to Rebecca Lynn Goldfarb and Jenny Ann Hochberg, and they are characters in the incredible production, October 7th, the play. It's verbatim. It's based on the actual statements from people interviewed who lived through this and lived to talk about it. You were talking about the survivor's guilt that they've been going through. You just discussed the atrocities that they were exposed to, hearing rapes going on and knowing that their friends were being killed.
She also, I do want to let you know, because talking to her, and I talk a lot about this, she has so much hope. She is such an uplifting spirit, and getting to know the person I play she's my hero, is what I always say. To survive what she did, but also she got closer to her faith. And she keeps Shabbat, she keeps kosher. So even though she did experience heavy trauma and she's still going through PTSD from it, she has so much hope though.
What struck me in the play is that I saw reality leap forward because I had visited Israel. I went to Rahim Park where the Nova Festival took place. And while I'm walking on this now hallowed ground, which is a memorial site, and seeing the pictures of everyone, and I'm reminded of the fact that the war is going on because an artillery round goes off while I'm there. And yet when I spoke to people, in the midst of their sorrow, they still had hope, Rebecca.
Yeah.
It's stunning to see that.
It really is. Yeah.
Talk to me about that from your perspective.
Well, we met another survivor, Tal Shimoni, who is also portrayed in our show. We met her when we visited the Nova exhibit. And, it was so comforting to hear from her. We had one cast member who was very, upset. Just how could people know this happened and still deny or say the things that they say? And this person who lived through it, she was like, we've always been the bad guys, and she had such a way of just thinking about what we can do and how to be proactive. And I think she's also such a hero. She is continuing to find ways to bring different survivors together and different ways for them to receive therapy and just move and grow. And that's really what we can focus on. I think, like, anyone who's full of hate or ignorance, like, we can't control that. And unfortunately, that's going to exist forever. But what we do and how we move forward is what we have control over. And I just feel so proud to be a part of a show that is giving voices to people who are, not being heard, and giving audiences who are still grieving and mourning losses a place where they can live that and experience that together. I think is just so powerful and necessary.
And so, Rebecca, I'll start with you. What is your hope in living your life to show that you love your Jewish faith and you love others too, of other faiths?
Yeah. I think as hard as it is to see when other people, might be unwilling to listen or hear other perspectives, I do believe that everyone is coming from a place of good and everyone is trying to make a better world. And I think that the more we can think in that direction, the more we're likely to achieve that common goal, right? We're more alike than different is what I want to believe, right? We all want people to be living in peace and happiness.
Like she said, the message of our play is, although all these horrific things happen, there is so much hope. And I do believe that there is a lot of goodness in people. And something about Nova that Tal had shared with us is that it's really just a peaceful community. They are about supporting each other, and they do this thing where the sun rises, and when they dance, they try to pass their energy to one another. And I thought that was very powerful because it's not political. It's not trying to say this side versus that side's wrong. It's just a group of people that wanted to come together and dance. And getting to play and getting to give a story to these people who deserve to be told, as we keep saying, but just the power between all these different people come from different backgrounds, but they all just wanted one thing, which was peace. And I guess that's the only way we can move forward.
I want to thank you both for being on America's Hope, and I would encourage everyone to go out and see this production. It's in New York at the Actors Temple until June 16th, and then it will go on the road. Again, my thanks to Rebecca Lynn Goldfarb and Jenny Ann Hochberg. Thank you both. And I'd like to thank our guests who appeared on tonight's program. Certainly October 7th, the play, in their own words, is something that many people will get a chance to see. And as they watch it, and as they go through this immersive production of what unfolded on October 7th, there is no doubt in my mind that you will be moved. At one point you will grieve, and at another point you will find some humor, but most importantly, you will walk away with hope. Hope that we can get through this storm and overcome it by having hope, faith, and love for God and for people, for humanity. Until next time, America, keep hope alive. Good night. God bless.